Hello and welcome to Craftiosity, where creativity comes to you with monthly craft kits delivered to your door. This month we're giving a unique twist to the humble bias tape maker tool, using it to create strips of fabric to weave your own placemat. Inside your kit you'll find your template, your sewing pins, a reel of sewing thread, your bias tape maker tool, a sewing needle, and your soft grey and navy blue fabrics. You'll also find your step-by-step photo instructions and a little something for your pinboard. Open out your Craftiosity box. Mark out a 2.5cm wide strip along the edge of the cardboard flap. Cut out the strip carefully with a pair of sharp scissors, keeping the cut edge as straight as possible. On your grey fabric, you'll have a shorter side and a longer side. Use your cardboard strip and pencil to mark a strip along the short side of the fabric. Carefully cut along the pencil line, keeping your cut edge as straight as possible. Then measure the width of the fabric strip you have cut out at a few points along it to make sure it measures 2.5 centimeters all the way along. Repeat this process of measuring and cutting strips until you have 24 strips of the grey fabric. Hold on to your card strip and the remaining grey fabric for later. Next, take your navy blue fabric and cut 25 strips, each 2.5 centimeters wide, cutting along the short edge of the fabric again. Even though the fabric is dark, you should still be able to see the pencil line. You'll now use the bias tool to iron your cut strips into folded strips. The bias tool folds in the edges and you iron as you go along, setting the strips in place. Feed the short edge of one fabric strip into the wide opening of the bias tape tool until the strip comes out of the narrow opening at the other end. You may find it helps to fold the strip in half slightly when feeding it in. If it gets stuck, use one of the pins to help pull it through. When you have a couple of centimeters of fabric coming out of the narrow opening of the bias tape tool, you can start ironing. With your iron on a medium press, press the strip of the bias tape coming out of the tool. Be careful when using the iron, hold the bias tape tool by the handle as the main body can get hot. Each fabric strip you iron will also be very hot, so be careful with these as you go. Don't pull the tool back too far each time, otherwise the strip can unfold and spread out. Move the iron forward toward the tool, ironing the fabric strip that's exposed. Keep repeating this motion of pulling the tool backwards and moving the iron forward until you have pulled through and ironed the whole strip of fabric. Measure the width of your bias strip now it has been folded and ironed. It should measure roughly 1.2 millimeters all the way along. If it is much wider, keep the iron a bit closer to the opening of the bias tape tool. Repeat this process for each of your navy blue fabric strips and then for your light grey fabric strips. To weave your design, you'll use sewing pins to keep your strips in place. For this, you'll need a thickly folded towel or something similar as a base. Fold your towel to be at least 40 by 40 centimeters and at least as thick as the height of one of the pins. You can stack two towels on top of each other if you need to. Pin one end of the navy blue strips onto your folded fabric so they're positioned vertically. We'll start pinning at the bottom, the side nearest you. The pins should be roughly 2 to 3 centimeters from the end of each fabric strip. Use the cardboard strip from when you cut the fabric to keep your pins lined up straight. Make sure the fabric strips are positioned directly next to each other without overlapping. Pin your first light grey strip at a right angle to the navy blue strips so it's placed horizontally. Your pin should be placed next to the first navy blue strip, and the grey strip should run against the pins holding the navy blue strips. Following the template pattern, begin weaving your first light grey strip under and over the navy strips. You'll start from the bottom left square and work across from left to right, following the horizontal row with a number 1 to the left and the right of it. Where there is a navy blue square, your grey strip will pass underneath the navy blue strip. So for your first grey strip, it will go under the first two navy blue strips. Where there is a grey square, the grey strip will go on top of the navy blue strip. Once you've woven under and over each of the 25 navy blue strips, check that the grey strip is straight and is positioned as low as possible. Now pin the second light grey strip directly above the first one and weave it under and over following the pattern. You're now following the horizontal roll labelled with number 2 to the left and the right of it. Straighten your second strip and position it as close to your first grey strip as possible. Continue this process of pinning a grey strip and weaving it under and over according to the row of the pattern that corresponds with the strip number. So row 3 for the third strip, row 4 for the fourth strip, and so on. When you finish this, cut 3 strips from your remaining grey fabric, each measuring 5 centimetres wide with a line down the centre. To do this, draw a line in pencil across your grey fabric using your cardboard strip to measure 2.5 centimetres from the edge. Then move the cardboard strip up and draw a second line that is 2.5 centimetres from the first line. Cut along the second line to give you a 5 centimetre strip. Fold each strip in half along the long edge, ensuring that the pencil line is on the inside. Iron along this fold. Open the fabric strip up and fold each long side into the centre fold you've just created and iron again. Fold back in half along the centre fold and iron once more. You'll use these to give a neat edging to your table mat. Each folded strip should measure approximately 1.25 centimetres wide. Take 2 of the edging strips and open them out once along the centre fold. Place them with the smooth, non-folded sides back to back, line up the short edges and pin them together. Using the needle and thread, sew a running stitch going in and out of the fabric along the short edge with a 1 to 2 centimetre gap from the edge. Then trim away the fabric above the row of stitches. Repeat this process to add a third strip to the end of one of the strips. Then fold your strips back in half along the centre fold. These will now be used to edge your mat, giving it a neat finish. We'll now finish pinning your mat. So pin the final row on the opposite side of your mat, so you're pinning the row itself. Then do the same for the left side and the bottom, moving your pins in to pin the actual first row on each edge. Leave the other side of your mat unpinned for now. Trim the excess fabric from the pinned strips, leaving a very small amount of each strip protruding from the edge of the mat. Starting on one of the pinned sides, partway along the edge, take one end of your long grey strip and open it along the centre fold. Slide one half of the grey strip under the edge of your woven strips, then fold so the other half sits on top of the woven strips. The grey edging strip should have your mat sandwiched between it. Make sure the edging strip is straight and then carefully pin it, this time running the pins through the fabric like this. You're aiming to capture every piece as you pin. You can use some of the pins that were holding the strips down to do this. Repeat this all the way along the first side of the mat, sliding the strip under and folding it on top before pinning in place. Stop when you reach the first corner. To make a neat corner, open out the strip and fold it at a right angle following the corner of the mat. At the corner point where the fabric is folded and sticking up, fold and flatten to create a diagonal line out from the corner of the mat. The excess fabric from the strip should be tucked underneath itself like this. Make sure both the front and the back of the strip is folded neatly, then pin into place. Now continue along the second pinned side in the same way as you did on the first side, pinning the folded grey strip in place. When you reach the second corner, you'll fold the strip in the same way. Finally, work along the third pinned side, stopping just before you reach the corner. Then use some of the spare pins you removed from the other sides to pin the strips on the fourth unpinned side into place. For now, just pinning each woven strip into the towel. Create the third corner and work along the fourth and final side, folding the grey strip over the edge and pinning it into place, ensuring that the strip is straight. create the fourth corner and continue along the first side until you're back to where you started. Trim away the excess from the grey edging strip, leaving roughly 2 cm of an overlap. Fold the cut short edge of the grey strip underneath itself to give a neat edge, then pin the strip along the edge of the mat, making sure that the ends overlap. Your mat should be edged in the grey folded strip the entire way around. Now stitch the grey edging strip into place. Take your needle and thread and stitch a small running stitch going in and out of the fabric in a line along the inside edge of the grey strip like this. Make sure you're sewing through all the layers of your mat with each stitch and remove the pins as you stitch everything in place. When you've sewn all the way around your mat, fasten off your thread. You can press your mat gently with an iron if needed, and well done, your woven bias placemat is complete. Thanks so much for watching. We hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and we look forward to welcoming you to the next craft kit project next month.